What's up, guys? I want to thank you so much for checking out my YouTube channel. We are going to start doing contests every single month with lucky winners and giving away Young Ambition clothing along with some other really cool prizes. So make sure you hit the subscribe button below. You have to be subscribed to be eligible to win. And I'm excited to continue giving you game-changing, relevant, tactical content that inspires you, challenges you to think different, and really helps you live a life on your terms. So subscribe below and we'll see you guys soon.
Mental health issues. If you have depression, it doubles the risk of Alzheimer's disease in women and quadruples that risk in men. We are, as a society, loaded with what I call ANTs, automatic negative thoughts. And our society perpetuates them because the news is literally not the news anymore. The news is there to scare you. It's to make you upset because then you'll come back. So I tell people no more than 15 minutes a day, unless you want a lot of ants running around your head.
I want to talk about first the top killers of your brain enhancement, because Dr. Daniel, the reality is health is an uncomfortable topic for unhealthy people. It really is. They cringe. It's like, health, but they're the people that need it the most. And I can't think of anything more important on the planet than protecting your health, especially your brain health, your energy, your peace of mind. So two things. One, why is it not talked about more? How is there not a class in school, a whole class that is focused on enhancing your brain? How is that not happening? And then after that, I want to talk about some of the biggest killers that you've seen in people in general that's hurting their brain. So why is it not talked about enough when it's the most important thing, I think, on planet Earth? And two, what are some of the killers?
So we actually have a course called Brain Thrive by 25. And we're working on Brain Thrive by 5 and Brain Thrive by grade 5. But we don't think about it. And many years ago, psychiatry and neurology got divorced. And it was a bad divorce, that neurology got the brain and they got headaches and seizures and strokes. And psychiatry got the mind and they got depression and ADHD and anxiety and schizophrenia. And it was just a bad divorce because your brain controls all those, quote, mental health things. And people just don't think about it. I mean, if you really thought about your brain, would you ever let a child hit a soccer ball with their head? Absolutely not. That's neglect. Would you let a 13-year-old put their head in a helmet and slam it up against other 13, 14-year-olds? Absolutely not. It's a football we know is a brain-damaging sport. But we just don't care. But that's what I'm trying to change. That's the revolution in brain health that needs to happen in this country.
So let's talk about some of the killers. Depression affects 50 million Americans. It's up 400%, probably more since the pandemic. Alzheimer's is way up. Like you said, 50% of US is either diabetic or pre-diabetic simply because of a lot of the food we eat. And you say diabetes damages every single organ in your body. So a majority of people are damaging every organ in their body. And these people have kids and families and grandkids, and they're not even thinking about it. So what are some of the most common killers of the brain right now that people are just doing day in, day out that they don't even think about, that we can literally stop?
So in my book, The End of Mental Illness, I talk about this mnemonic that I like a lot called Bright Minds. If you want to keep your brain healthy or rescue it if it's headed to the dark place, you have to prevent or treat the 11 major risk factors that steal your mind. And so the mnemonic is Bright Minds. B is for blood flow. Low blood flow is the #1 brain imaging predictor of Alzheimer's disease. So what causes that? Any cardiovascular disease. Your brain is 2% of your body's weight, uses 20% of the blood flow in your body. Anything that damages blood flow, smoking, caffeine, vaping, Erectile dysfunction, if you have blood flow problems anywhere, it likely means they're everywhere. Hypertension, which you already said is 60% of the population, heart disease, or having a sedentary lifestyle, or mostly eating processed foods, because that lowers blood flow. The R is retirement and aging, and I know I'm talking to younger people, but your parents, the older you get, you know, it's sort of like as we age, the skin falls off our face. That same process happens in the brain. And taking care of your brain, actually, you have prettier skin. So new learning needs to be part of everything you do. The I is inflammation. People who have low levels of omega-3 fatty acids have a much higher incidence of depression and dementia.
Which means so not eating omega fatty acids, so eating salmon, things like that are really good for that.
Salmon, avocados, green leafy vegetables, taking omega-3 supplements. I take 3 grams every day of omega-3 supplements. It's just so important. I mean, I realized the importance of supplementation when I started looking at the brain, because some of the medications I prescribed, I didn't like how the brain looked. And so BrainMD is my supplement company. And I just believed everyone should take multiple vitamin, high dose, high quality fish oil, know your vitamin D level, D for Daniel. And I take 7,000 units a day. Low vitamin D, well, we'll get to that, but it's a risk factor for death if you get COVID.
So not doing enough omega, which means people are just not eating foods that give them what they're supposed to get, and they're eating more processed or things that aren't healthy.
Right, and people who eat grilled or baked fish once a week have more gray matter in their brain. They actually have a bigger brain than people who don't. And we're not talking about fillet of fish or fried fish. We're talking about, you know, healthy fish.
Maybe wild, right?
And well, it depends on the fish. Some fish actually do okay farmed. But for salmon, you want it wild if you can get it. The G in Bright Minds is genetics, but genes load the gun. They're not a death sentence. I have this great case of Lisa Gibbons, who's a journalist and media personality, whose mother and grandmother died with Alzheimer's disease. And when she came to see me at 51, her brain looked like it was headed to the dark place. But she just did everything I asked her to do. And at 62, her brain is dramatically better, which is one of the hallmark principles of my work. You're not stuck with the brain you have. You can make it better, and I can prove it. The H is one of the big destroyers of the brain. Head trauma. Your brain is soft, about the consistency of soft butter, tofu, custard, somewhere between egg whites and yellow. And it's housed in a very hard skull with multiple sharp, bony ridges. Mild traumatic brain injury ruins people's lives, and nobody knows. I just did this show with Dr. Phil, and we talked to this young person, Cameron, whose life is just completely out of control. And when he was 2, he was dropped 10 feet down basement stairs onto his head. And it just completely changed the trajectory of his life. And it's so sad. I did the big NFL study at a time when the NFL was lying about head trauma in football. And we've scanned 300 NFL players and high levels of damage. But 80% of our players get better when we put them on a rehabilitation program. T is toxins. And this is a very important discussion for our society. Alcohol is not a health food. It damages the brain. Marijuana is not innocuous. It's just not. I'm a fan of legalizing it. I don't want anybody going to jail because they're smoking pot. But let's not fool ourselves and say it's a good thing for us. Because if teenagers smoke, it increases their risk of anxiety, depression, and suicide in their 20s. And it also increases the risk of psychosis 450%. That's a replicated study from Norway. But it's not just drugs and alcohol. Environmental toxins like mold. Every firefighter's brain I've ever scanned looks terrible because of the environmental toxins they breathe in from fires, general anesthesia, and the products you put on your body. They're often loaded with poison. And is anybody besides me worried about all the lotions we're putting on, the antibacterial, hand lotion and sprays, and, read the label. Some of them are made in a very non-toxic way. A lot of them are just loaded with crap that you should never want on your body. 60% of the lipstick sold in the United States has lead in it. I call it the kiss of death. So there's an app I like called Think
Dirty. I love that app.
Yeah, it's like, just scan your personal products. Is it good for you or bad for you? Good is like not hard. The M is for mental health issues. If you have depression, it doubles the risk of Alzheimer's disease in women and quadruples that risk in men. We are, as a society, loaded with what I call ants, automatic negative thoughts. And our society perpetuates them because the news is literally not the news anymore. The news is there to scare you. It's to make you upset, because then you'll come back. So I tell people, no more than 15 minutes a day, unless you want a lot of ants running around your head, automatic negative thoughts. So learning how to develop an internal anteater. I have my anteater with me all the time. The second I is immunity and infections, a major cause of brain health issues: Lyme, Epstein-Barr, herpes, mycoplasma, strep infections actually been found to impact brain function. So getting your immune system right is so important, never more important than now with COVID-19 terrorizing the world. The N is neurohormone disorders. All of you should have your hormones checked, probably on a yearly basis. And it drops testosterone, that one hormone that gives you energy and muscle mass and libido and mood and motivation, is a sugar burst. A sugar burst can actually drop your testosterone level by 25%. So I always tease my patients. I say, hey, if you share the cheesecake at the restaurant, nobody gets dessert when you get home because it's dropped your testosterone level. The D is diabesity, combination of diabetes and high blood sugar. I just published a new study on 35,000 patients that show as your weight went up, the actual function of your brain went down in a linear fashion. Compared healthy weight, overweight, obese, morbidly obese. And as your weight went up, the size and function of your brain went down, which should just scare the fat off anyone. And I don't want to shame anyone, but you need to know this information. It's not just so that you can look good in a bathing suit that you want to get rid of the excess weight. It's because fat stores toxins. Fat increases inflammation. Fat takes healthy testosterone and turns it into unhealthy forms of estrogen, and fat lowers blood flow to your brain. So if you just have that one risk factor, you actually have 5 of the 11 risk factors. Wow. And then S is for sleep. Sleep apnea triples the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Getting your sleep right is absolutely essential.
And you recommend what, 7 to 8 hours?
7 to 8 hours. Yeah, if you can sneak it to 8, it's even better. Because when we sleep, our brain cleans or washes itself, and you got to give it time to do that. So when I was thinking I was special, being able to get by on 4 hours of sleep, I was actually making myself cognitively impaired.
Hey, what's up? And thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy this video and this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, put the notifications on, and I assure you, you'll love this content in these videos.